Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about my favorite body butters of all time. And it's not Tree Hut, it's not Bath and Body Works, it's this tiny little indie brand called House of Gloi. And they have put out a Valentine's collection, and I'm going to go ahead and go through all 12 of the scents available for the pumpkin butters in their Valentine's collection and tell you what I think about each of them. So House of Gloi does call their body butters pumpkin butters because I believe they are made primarily from pumpkin seed oil rather than any other kinds of oil. So I took a look and the top ingredient is water. The next one is shea butter, as you would expect. And the next one is coconut oil. And then number 4 is that pumpkin seed oil. So there it is right there. They have this absolutely lovely squishiness to them. It's pretty thick. I would say maybe just a little bit thinner than a Tree Hut body butter, but just thick enough to be really nice feeling and really moisturizing. So let's get into this and talk about scents. I have been using these since they came out, which was probably like 3 weeks ago now, because I wanted to experience each one for a day and really get a sense of it before I let you know my thoughts. So we're going to start with this first one. This one is Bourbon Espresso Martini. It has notes of fresh espresso, coffee liqueur, and a shot of bourbon. Looking at my notes on this one, I did not like it at first before it dried down. But once it did dry down, you could definitely get that like a hint of that coffee smell. It's like really strong right now. And that coffee smells really good. And then underneath of that coffee, there's almost like a woodiness to it, like kind of a sharper sap kind of a smell. This one I did really like. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Nice. Okay, our next one is by Candlelight. This one has notes of warm candle wax and golden amber wrapped in cashmere accord and soft vanilla woods. So in my notes for this one, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It smelled a lot like incense, which I think is that amber smell kind of coming up. And incense isn't always my most favorite. So it was kind of I wasn't really smelling the cashmere. It did have a little bit of vanilla to it, but really it wasn't a lot compared to the incense smell, which I found a little bit overwhelming, which is why this got a 3. Next up is Crushed Velvet. This one has notes of rich caramel and chocolate, delicate oncidium orchids, bergamot, raspberry, golden amber, and dark aged patchouli. So that is a really long list. In my notes for this, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It does have a little bit of sweetness to it, which is probably the caramel and the chocolate in there. I can also get a little bit of floral. It wasn't an overwhelming floral, which I appreciate because I'm not a huge floral fan. The sweetness might have also been the raspberry. It really didn't come across as like specifically any of those things though. Like it didn't smell like caramel or chocolate or raspberry. It just smells kind of like sweet. I think there is also that bergamot note in there, like just a little bit of, I suppose it's a little floral, but you know, it smells like bergamot. All in all, I found that it really didn't have a strong scent to it. And the scent that it did have wasn't my favorite. 3 out of 5. This one is Epicurean, one of my favorites of this collection actually. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 because it just smells so good to me, but then I am a big gourmand fan. It has notes of layers of chocolate and vanilla cake topped with crushed berry compote and whipped cream. And it definitely did have a chocolatiness to it. Chocolate isn't my most favorite scent in a like smell good thing in a fragrance. So I appreciated that it wasn't very overwhelming. I think for me, it mostly came off as the vanilla cake and that berry scent. I think those were the most forward notes. But there was a little bit of chocolate underneath of it, which I feel like gave it a nice, like it balanced out the super sweetness of the other two things. So yeah, this is a great one, 5 out of 5. Next is First Blush. This one has scent notes of Tahitian vanilla bean, white tea, lavender, and peach. This one I really liked. I gave this a 4 out of 5. Even though lavender is not my favorite scent, I didn't really pick up a lot of lavender in here. What I did really get a lot of was white tea and peach, because to me, this smelled a lot like this white tea that I used to drink that had like this sort of peach flavor to it. And I can't even remember what brand makes it, but this so strongly reminded me of that scent. And even the name First Blush is a little bit tea-like. It's the name for like the first leaves that come off of the tea plant, which is what they make white tea from. So I think First Blush is really fitting for this particular scent. I did not get a lot of vanilla, which is interesting since it is the first scent note listed. For me, again, it really was that white tea and peach scent. That was just so good. This is the scent for Aphrodite. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 as well. This one was seafoam, golden apples, pink roses, sprigs of freshly cut myrtle, glowing amber, and sweet vanilla. Now, I don't know what freshly cut myrtle is supposed to smell like, but in my mind, it's got this kind of herby scent to it, and I really thought that this perfectly balanced that sort of herby notes with the sweetness of the apples, because this does smell like a lot like apples, but then underneath of it is sort of that green, but it's not like green grass the way that some green scents sometimes are. For me, it was very green and herby, like almost mixing some rosemary, some parsley, some other like green herbs all together, and then adding that to the golden apples. And it was really, really, really good. I didn't get a lot of vanilla out of it. It did have maybe a little bit of a floral smell to it that you could say was the rose note. And I didn't really get a sea foam note. I don't know if that would be like a water scent or a salty scent, but it wasn't really there for me as much. All right, this one is called Frisson. It has notes of fresh strawberries, tart bergamot, soft musk, white amber, cedarwood, and vetiver. This one I thought was really interesting. Because with that scent of like cedarwood, the vetiver, even the white amber and the musk, this could be more of a masculine scent. But then mixed with the fresh strawberries, like that's not usually a scent that you're gonna get when you're trying to go more masculine. So I thought this was a really cool, like kind of a way to make a unisex scent that really is kind of confusing to my nose, and because of that I find it really interesting. So I rated this one a 4 out of 5 because it wasn't like I smelled it and immediately was like but it was an interesting scent, which I do enjoy. The bergamot, that note is not my most favorite note, and it was rather prominent in this scent, which is probably also why it was not my most favorite. But the strawberry note was just so nice, and it smells like real strawberries, not like a fake strawberry smell to me. And then underneath it, all of that masculineness of the cedarwood and the vetiver, it really, I don't know, it balances out in this very interesting way. So this is a really, I think, non-traditional kind of scent, but it smells really nice. Okay, next we have Lily Cakes. This one has scent notes of creamy white cake, lily of the valley, and exotic white ginger. Now, I did not really get a lot of ginger out of this. I will say, my ex-husband is from Pakistan, so I have done a whole lot of cooking with ginger, and my nose just honestly might be totally scent blind to that note. That might just be me. But for me, it did smell really interesting because it does definitely have this very large gourmand cake component, which is really nice. It smells like a wedding cake. But then it does have that lily of the valley kind of floral underneath of it. Normally, I don't like gourmands and florals mixing. it reminds me of, I once had lavender ice cream at this really cute little indie ice cream shop, and I wanted so much to love it, but it was so gross. And I know there are lots of people who love lavender flavored stuff, but to me, it really just tasted like eating soap. So I don't tend to like gourmands and floral scents together, but this one really worked for me. Um, I would rate it like a 4 out of 5 just because it wasn't like amazing. It didn't blow me away. But those scents tend to be the more traditional scents. And this one was a little bit non-traditional with its mixture of the floral and the cake scent. So for that, it's really interesting, and it does have a pleasant smell to it. Spritzee. This one has scent notes of pink cotton candy, fresh berries, sweet cream, and a kiss of almond. Now, I personally really thought that this smelled like plastic, like just strongly of plastic. Like, I don't know, like when you're playing with Barbie dolls, and just like the smell of them, maybe in the heat even, like, because when they're a little warmer, they start to give off like that smell. I don't know. I found this one honestly just kind of unpleasant. I'm gonna give this one a 2 out of 5. I really wanted to like it because with the notes, it sounds like something that I would love. But I'm not getting pink cotton candy. I'm not getting berries. Maybe a little bit of cream and almond, but it just, I can smell underneath that plasticky smell that there is like a little bit of creaminess and even sort of that tang, I guess, of an almond smell, but I can't get past the plastic smell. And I'm not sure, maybe that's just something in the ingredients interacting with my nose in a weird way, and to everybody else, it smells lovely. But for me personally, this was a 2 out of 5. Not a good smell. No thanks. Okay, this one is called Sweet on You, and it has scent notes of sweet and fruity ruby chocolate accord, pink berries, white chocolate, and vanilla. Okay, I liked this one, even though it is heavily chocolate forward. Like I said, I'm not usually a fan of chocolate scents, but I'm starting to think that that may be the scents that chocolate is usually paired with, because in this collection, I have liked the chocolates that they have used, because it really does, while it has that chocolate scent, that like red berry scent is maybe stronger, or maybe it's like equal. And so those two scents together really balance each other out. Like to me, it's smelling like, did you ever have those, there's the chocolate oranges, right, around Christmas time, but they make raspberry chocolate oranges also, which is a little silly, but they taste like raspberry chocolate. And that is what this reminds me of, is that taste of just raspberry flavored chocolate. And it's really, really nice. I don't know that I get the vanilla as much, but it might just be hard to smell it underneath of that really strong chocolate and berry smell. This one I give a 5 out of 5 because, I don't know, it really does smell like eating a raspberry orange, and I love that. All right, this is our last one. It is called White Satin. It has scent notes of white jasmine petals, basmati rice, coconut milk, powdery iris and heliotrope, tonka bean, and sandalwood. I actually liked this one more than I thought that I was going to. I gave this a 4 out of 5. Again, florals are not my most favorite. So with the first note being listed as jasmine petals, I was a little doubtful. I didn't think I would love it. But the floral is more subdued to me in this one. It's not coming out as much. I'm not getting rice at all, basmati or any other kind, but I do definitely smell the coconut notes, and I think that the tonka bean and the sandalwood are quite prominent in this as well. So it does have a really interesting like incensey, but not in the way that the amber ones were. It's a more pleasant incensey kind of a smell, and that tonka bean has that really interesting almost sweetness to it that I really enjoyed. So all in all, it does have that floral, but it's balanced with like the incensey sweetness of it that kind of becomes, I don't even know, it's almost like The amber ones are more straight incense, and this is almost like, I don't even know what you call it, like a flavored incense. But you know, when you go to buy incense, you have like your traditional like Nag Champa or some of the other ones. But then there's also ones that are made to smell like really like regular everyday scents that we have in the United States. So like some of them are like orange and peach, or like, you know, obviously artificial synthetic fragrances that are put into the incense. And that's what this smells like to me. It is a little bit incensey in its jasmine petals and its floralness and the sandalwood, but it does have like the coconut milk creaminess under it that makes it smell just a little bit more like artificially scented incense, which is a little bit silly that I would like that more, but I do actually like that more. So I rated this one 4 out of 5. So that is all 12 of the pumpkin butter scents in the House of Gloi collection for Valentine's Day. If you want to pick these up, you can go to their website, which is just houseofgloi.com. And I'll put a link to that down in the description because it's spelled a little bit differently, because they are a perfumery, and they do also make perfumes and wax melts and like room sprays, and they make all kinds of stuff. I mostly just stick to the pumpkin butters, although I have gotten a few of their scrubs and have liked those as well. So I'm not as familiar with their other offerings, but the pumpkin butters are amazing. They're really hydrating, and they do leave you feeling like just a little bit greasy, but in a way that I kind of prefer. Like, I don't know. I like feeling moisturized when I'm done moisturizing. That's just my little quirk that I have. So I think that they're really, really good. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to talk other indie bath and body places, I am so here for that. If you just post down in the comments, then I would love to talk to you. Thank you all so much, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.